Are you looking for an inspiring listen? Something to motivate you? You've come to the right place. Welcome to Women of the Northwest, where we have conversations with ordinary women leading extraordinary lives. Motivating, inspiring, compelling. Hey, everybody. We're back with Women of the Northwest, and do I have a treat for you today? I have Heidi Brown with me, who was from Astoria, but she just did a Clipper around the world sailing race. Whoa. For a whole year, right?
A whole year.
A whole year. So excited to talk with her about that adventure. How did this first come about, the idea of doing this?
In 2018, I had a friend of mine start teaching me how to sail. And then they also told me about Clipper Around the World race. And when they showed me videos on YouTube, I immediately went down the YouTube rabbit hole and just kept watching and watching and watching. And Clipper race has been around since 1996. It's a sailing race company based out of the UK, right now based out of Portsmouth, England, and which is on the English Channel. And they have a fleet of 10 identical racing yachts that are 70 feet in length. And the company was founded by Sir Robin Knox Johnston, who was the first solo circumnavigator that sailed nonstop, unassisted around the world in 1968 and 69. And the thing that he really wanted to do in the mid-90s was he wanted to make ocean racing accessible to amateur sailors.
Oh.
It had been a sport and endeavor that was attempted only by professional sailors. And he saw an opportunity to create a system and an environment where people with little to no sailing experience could get the necessary safety and skills training and then try to accomplish something remarkable.
Wow. Had you sailed before?
Starting in 2018. But I was born and raised in Juneau, Alaska. And I grew up fishing on the waters of Southeast Alaska. And I've been fishing since I was 5 and driving boats, motorboats, mind you, since I was about 9 years old. So I'm very familiar with the water. I have a very deep, long-running connection with being on the ocean.
Yeah.
So that's where the love of the water comes from. And I wanted to sign up for the Clipper race to get reconnected with that love of the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you must have had like a little transition in your mind anyway to pursue something like that, because give up your job for a year or your house for a year or any of that.
Yep. So Clipper race is pretty unique in that you can sign up for, the race is broke down into 8 major legs around the world. And the way they organize it is you can sign up for one leg or multiple legs or the whole thing. And for me, when I went down that YouTube rabbit hole, it was always about, I'm going to do all the legs.
I'm all in.
I'm all in. I'm totally all in. And so that's when, that was 2018. I had a lot of thinking to do and planning to do, and not only to save the money to do it, but also how to be gone for a year from normal life, right? I'm going to have to quit a job. I'm going to need to make sure my house is cared for while I'm gone. Who's going to, remain connected with my family members and kind of be there for them while I'm gone. And all those things come into mind. And so it wasn't something that I could just pick up and do overnight. There was a lot of planning that went into it.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be something to do. But because even a 6-month thing or something, that still is
a long time away.
That's a long time away. And to think about what to take with you and what to.
Yeah. There are weight limits too with what we can bring on as crew as well, which is a good thing to have. So I think because it's based out of the UK, the metric system is used. So I think we had a 20 kilogram weight limit for our gear that didn't include sleeping bag, boots, and our foul weather gear, because all 3 of those things actually weigh quite a bit and they're very bulky. So you kind of got to pass.
But you have to have all of those.
But you do need to have all of those. So the race, are you okay if we talk about a little bit more about the structure of the race?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the race is a year long. Well, it's an 11-month long race. And prior to starting the race, everybody that signs up and is accepted into the race as a crew have to go through the same 4 levels of training. And each level of training is about 6 or 7 days long.
Mm.
And they build one on top of the other. So level 1 training is really about your basics of the boat and being safe on the boat. Again, there are people that have signed up for this race that have never set foot on a boat. I immediately had a leg up on them in that sense. And that's not to say,
No,
you're
it's just
competitive at that level.
no,
Just
it's just experiential.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, exactly. And so, this is the bow of the boat. This is the stern of the boat. This is the head of a sail.
that's where I'd be.
Yeah.
Just even give me the
Yeah,
definitions.
give you the definitions. Here's how to be safe on a boat.
Mhm.
I grew up in Alaska with a phrase, one hand for you, one hand for the boat. Right.
Mm.
And it's very, very common. And that is a phrase we use, in Clipper race on the sailboat as well. And essentially it means you're always, got a hand on the boat that is for your safety. And then you've got one that's free to either catch yourself or hang on to something else if you need to. And folks are needing to learn those things from the very beginning,
Yeah, and review them isn't a
Oh,
bad thing.
no, and a review is not a bad thing. And that's also another thing is regardless of a sailor's experience, when they go into Clipper race, they still have to do all those trainings because we all need to learn the Clipper way
Mm.
and Clipper's standard operating procedures and their safety procedures and their language and the vernacular they use when we're doing certain activities on the boat, like tacking the sailboat or jibing. If we are changing a sail, if we need to communicate all the way up to the bow, 70 feet away, what are the hand signals that we use for that? Because your voice
I
doesn't
know,
travel
yeah,
that
yeah, I'm not
far,
gonna
right?
carry.
All those things, yeah, we'll never carry,
Yeah,
especially with a headwind. And so we learn all that in those levels of training. And so it creates a very even foundation across every sailor that's crew on a boat. The other thing that's unique about Clipper Race is that because you can sign up for one leg or multiple legs or the whole thing, every time we're in one of the major stopovers where one leg is ending and another is starting, our team is changing.
mm,
So I circumnavigated. I was one of 7 on Team Scotland that was a circumnavigator outside of the skipper and the mate. And every time we came into port, we got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people that were new to the team or
okay,
new to us.
yeah,
And you immediately had to team build with those people.
yeah,
And that was a really interesting dynamic. Like the people component of this at times is the more difficult and the more complex challenge of the race, more so than the sailing. There are days where the sailing's the easy part and
mhm.
the people dynamics can be really difficult. And probably some of the most challenging components of the race is, how do you get along and live with 20 people for 30 days at sea?
Because all of them are gonna be in there because they want some kind of experience,
Yes. Yeah.
and that's the commonality,
Mm-hmm.
but their backgrounds will be different or their way of working together. Did they do some training with
Yeah.
interpersonal skills and that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff too?
Yeah, there was definitely some team building activities that we did before the race. Clipper has a big day called allocation day, team allocation day. And that's when you get to learn what team you're on. And then you go spend the rest of the day with those new team members of yours and your new skipper and your new mate. And you start to build that team ethos. What are we in it for? What level of competitiveness are we striving for? Are we all on the same page about that? What are some of our own terms and kind of principles that we want as a team, things such as on Team Scotland, we had one called nice, not spice.
Yeah.
Let's work and act with kindness instead of that spicy reactionary behavior. And that's way easier said than done when you're in the pressure cooker of a boat.
Right, and then you
Mhm.
default to what you're used to.
Yeah. But all those were part of the team building experience. And from there, the execution of building the team and building trust and reliability or accountability and all these, the standards that we need to have to be a performant team because it is a race at the end of the day.
Yeah.
None of us really want to be last. We're going to strive to not be last,
Right,
right? So
right.
how do we work best together? And you really get a few days on shore with that new set of team members, and then you're sailing. Then we set sail for the next leg of the race, and it's go time. And we work in a watch system on the boat, and so let's say there's a crew of 20. And then there's skipper and mate, but we'll leave them out of the math of there's 10 people on one watch and there's 10 people on another watch. And when, let's say I'm on watch A, if I'm up on deck, the other 10, and my other 9 team members are with me, the other 10 are down below sleeping or resting, and then we're up, and then we flip-flop, whether it be a 6-hour watch or a 4-hour watch, we'll flip-flop. And so you're constantly going in and out of the watch system, sleeping, eating, and there's continuous opportunities to build that team camaraderie, to grow as a team, or to have it devolve, right? There's always these opportunities, and it's really important from a leadership perspective to hold folks accountable, equally accountable, keep an eye on, personalities, and if there's clashes, and if somebody's having a down day, we all have down days.
Yeah.
I mean, we're sitting there and it's an endurance race and you're going to be tired some days.
Yeah.
You're going to have, you receive some news from home sometimes and you're like, what? Made me sad for a day. Maybe I wasn't quite, mentally at my top of my game for a day. It's like, so you check on people. You really start to see people very, very clearly when you're around them 24 hours a day.
For that long.
There's no hiding. If you're having a good day or a bad day, if they're being quiet or if they're being a little sharp with you, it's all on the table.
So how is it the skipper assign different roles? Do you stay in the same role for that whole time, or do you change around to those?
So there's a couple of major roles on the boat and that are pretty static. And so the non-sailing roles there's the role of the Vittler, which is actually spelled Victualler. But if you've ever heard the term vittles, meaning food,
okay,
it's where the root of that comes from. So the Vittler is your food planner. They actually go provision all the food as well. So they're not only just doing the meal planning, they're doing all the shopping with a team of maybe a couple other people to help them go to places like Costco and big warehouse stores, bulk stores, and do all the shopping. It's a lot of food to feed 20 plus people for 30 days.
Yeah.
3 square meals plus snacks and beverages. It's a lot. Like think about going to Costco and coming out with 6 or 7 carts full of food.
Right.
And you're not done. It's a lot.
But not every stop has a Costco.
No, that's very true. And so some stops were actually quite difficult to provision the boat sometimes, especially our Asia stops. I'll talk about our route here in just a minute. Yeah. So there's the Vittler role, which is actually probably the most difficult non-sailing role. There's a bosun on the team, so that's somebody who's in charge of making sure all of our rigging and our lines and all the other hardware on the boat are well serviced. And they kind of run the laundry list of work that we have to do every time we're in port. But they're also going to be our go-to person if something breaks at sea as well. You also have a medic on board. So you mentioned skills and backgrounds and everything a minute ago. One thing that Clipper does during allocation is they look at your professional background and they try to spread out the talent in different areas across all the teams. So you wouldn't want all the engineers' background on one boat. You wouldn't want all the medics on one boat, right?
Yeah,
all the people have cooking experience on so you spread those out. So there's typically always a medic on board, somebody with a medical background, whether they've been a GP, an EMT. We actually one team had a veterinary doctor, and he helped save somebody's ankle from really, really catastrophic injury.
Wow.
So your medical background can vary quite a bit and still be of value to the boat. You've got what we call a team coordinator. So that's somebody that helps organize people and social activities, not only in port, but while we're on the boat to help keep morale up. They also help with the bunk assignments because there's not 20 bunks on the boat for this crew of 20, right? There's about 10 bunks.
Yeah.
And so we've got to double up. And so they're responsible for kind of organizing that as well as our chef duty list. And so every watch or each watch has one person from that watch each day contribute to manning the galley or doing all the cooking for the day and then going through all of the food. the fresh fruit and produce and making sure we're eating things that are about to spoil, eat them before they go bad sort of
Right.
thing. Like that's a thing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And so you've got all these different non-sailing roles and responsibilities on the boat and kind of go that way. And then at times you'll find certain boats will take an approach to the race where they would like people to be expert in a certain area. And that's a skipper mate preference along with the crew agreeing to that. And so I happen to be on a boat where we felt like when you know lots of skills, it's a utilitarian approach to it where you can be of value in a lot of different areas. And so our skipper and mate encouraged us to learn the different areas that we wanted to. And you could hone in on one more so than the other, but they definitely wanted you to be able to be in the cockpit and do certain tasks. They wanted you to be able to go on the bow and do certain tasks, be at the helm, that sort of thing. If you're comfortable with the sea conditions, helm in any condition. And so there's different approaches to your roles on the boat, but I was really happy with the way Team Scotland did their approach, and it got me out of my comfort zone a couple of times, which was really cool because I didn't know a lot about being on the bow of the sailboat and doing those tasks. And
now you do.
Now I do. Now I feel comfortable doing that.
Your new resume has
has a lot of new skills on it. Yeah. I don't know how much of those will be applicable, but yeah, definitely.
I don't know.
And that's one of the reasons why I did the race too, is my background in technology and business, particularly in the health insurance industry in the Pacific Northwest. I kind of got burnt out on that. But I kept getting pulled and sucked back into that industry and that type of work, even though I wanted to change things up. And so one of the reasons why I was drawn to Clipper Race is to have that really distinct pause in my career and give something, give folks something else to talk about.
Yeah.
And then go, oh, okay, those are some interesting skills you've got now.
Yeah.
And, to grow skills in team building and leadership and resiliency.
Which are transferable to anything.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so let's have that conversation now. Let's move away from my previous background and let's look at me now and say, okay, what can I do now? How can I help you?
Yeah.
And so that's my next goal, is to figure out what that next step.
I think a lot of those skills that you learned just in managing and working with other people isn't something you learn in a college course.
No, I couldn't agree more. I think it's so much of it's based on experience.
Exactly.
Right? You don't learn it from a textbook. You can learn foundational things from a textbook, but to actually apply it, the application of what you learn and you're in a pressure cooker in that environment, and you have no other thing to do than deal with that situation in that moment. There's no walking away. There's no pushing them off the boat. That's not an option.
You're supposed to be kind.
Yeah, be kind.
Be kind.
Spice, not spice. We don't want spice. We want nice. And so it gives you all these opportunities to practice and practice and practice. And one of my favorite stories. Oh my gosh, I haven't thought about this in a while. It happened about mid-race on the trip from. Oh, do remind me to come back and tell you about the route of the race. But we were going from Northeast Australia to Subic Bay, Philippines. And it was a long, hot leg. And we got stuck in wind holes. And at some point, I was doing some bow work with a teammate of mine. And they asked me something. And I gave them a look. And I didn't know I did the look, right? Like we don't necessarily pay attention to what our face is doing when we're responding, right? But it does matter. The other person sees it. And it put them off. And it kind of made them not feel comfortable, made them, whatever look I had given, in their words, it made them feel stupid.
Yeah.
And
less than,
exactly. And I didn't even know I did it.
Yeah.
And then that individual came up to me because over the course of the leg, we had built a really good rapport. And he goes, "Can I talk to you about something?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you remember when we were on the bow and we were doing this thing?" I said, "Oh, yeah." He goes, "You gave me a look and it didn't make me feel good. And I wanted to be able to talk to you about that." And it led to an incredible conversation, an enlightening conversation around how body language and facial expressions that we don't think about. We don't feel our face doing the thing. We don't necessarily know our arms are crossed when we're speaking to somebody,
Yeah.
or have your hand in your head in your hand, or something along those lines. And it was very enlightening because he brought it to my attention. But not only did he bring it to my attention, he told me how it made him feel.
Yeah.
And that was really impactful because never in a million years would I want to make this individual feel that way, any individual feel that way.
Right.
And I was very mindful of that afterwards.
It was a gift that he gave you.
Mm-hmm. And it created a lasting friendship with him. And we worked together. We were often on the same watch the rest of the race. And when we weren't, we missed each other.
Yeah.
Because you see each other in passing, but you don't really spend a lot of time with each other because you're busy either getting on watch and going to work or coming off and really wanted to just get to bed.
Yeah.
And so when we weren't on the same watch together, we missed each other.
Yeah.
We missed that trusted partner and team member and somebody you can talk to when you're not having a great day.
Yeah.
Or talk to when something's going wrong.
You reached a level of intimacy that you hadn't had.
Yeah, because he was brave enough to bring it up, which
and that took courage to bring that up
absolutely.
too. But how great that he cared enough about wanting a relationship that he would even it out.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it just was the pathway to a fantastic friendship. So that's really, really cool.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was going to ask you, whether you ended up with some lifetime friends.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I've been invited to visit. I think people have opened their homes up to me in Tasmania, Scotland, Ireland, England, Turkey. So it's just amazing. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the race also, is because it draws people from all over the world. And it's really, I don't necessarily think that we in America get exposure to a lot of different cultures.
Well, we don't in the Northwest very much.
We don't in the Northwest very much, you're right.
Yeah.
And so it's one of the things that intrigued me about it is like, I want to go be around people that have different backgrounds, different languages, different cultures and traditions and that sort of thing, and learn and be exposed to it and learn. And it checked that box.
Yeah.
Many times over.
Yeah.
Many times over.
So what was your route?
The route was beginning and ending in Portsmouth, England. And even though they tout the race as 8 legs, there are 12 other stops around the world. So it's multiple stops. And I equate it to each one of these that I mentioned is kind of like one of the stages of the Tour de France. It itself is a race that you get points for.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so from Portsmouth, England to Puerto Sherry, Spain, to Punta del Este, Uruguay, Uruguay to Cape Town, South Africa, Cape Town, South Africa to Fremantle, Australia, which is just south of Perth on the western coast of Australia. And we went under Australia and Tasmania and up to northeast Australia to a place called Airlie Beach, which is near a holiday destination called the Whitsunday Islands and the Great Barrier Reef. And then from there up into Subic Bay, Philippines, where there was an old U.S. Navy installation there for many, many years. From Subic Bay into Qingdao, China. And Qingdao's been a sponsor port for the last 10 races, which is about 20 years. And then from Qingdao, China to Tongyong, South Korea, which is a new stop. And then from Tongyong to Seattle, Washington, big North Pacific crossing.
Wow.
The direction most people don't go from west to east. And then from Seattle, we went through the Panama Canal and then up to Washington, D.C. And from Washington, D.C. to Oban, Scotland, North Atlantic crossing.
Yeah.
And then from Oban, Scotland down to Portsmouth, England for the finale.
Wow. I'm visualizing the globe here as you're talking and going around all of these places. Wow.
The reason we go through Panama Canal is because we don't go around Cape Horn, bottom of South America. It is too treacherous. We have a professional skipper and a professional mate.
Thank goodness.
But we have, yeah, exactly. Thank goodness for them. But we are a group of amateur sailors. And so I think it's to curb the risk there. Going through the Panama Canal was a very, very cool experience anyway. So
yeah. I remember I was just a little kid. I can't even remember why we were down there, whatever, but my parents had taken us. I don't know, it might have been on a trip to Mexico or something, I can't remember. At any
Mhm.
rate, but I remember the Panama Canal and watching the different levels and
Mhm.
going through it, that part of it. But, so I bet you saw all kinds of fish.
Yeah. Fish and whales and dolphins, birds, a lot of seabirds. When crossing the Southern Ocean, and that was from Cape Town, South Africa to Fremantle, Australia. We crossed the Southern Ocean, which is a sailor's bucket list item. It's one of the most remote places one can sail in the
Mm.
world. Albatross.
Oh,
Oh, the biggest wingspan, and they just glide over the waves. They don't even flap their wings. They're just little airplanes,
huh.
and they're just gliding over the waves and dipping and diving, and it was amazing to watch
Yeah.
them. Uh, We learned some unique facts about them, one of which is they have an extra hinge in their wings
Mm.
so that they can kind of lock them into a position so that they can sleep while flying.
Oh,
Had no idea.
I wouldn't have known
Very, very cool.
that.
So that was a neat one. Unfortunately, the team from so all of the boats have sponsorships. So there's I was on Team Scotland. That doesn't mean that my team was from Scotland. It was that Scotland's Tourism Board and Oban Whiskey sponsored our boat. I was very, very excited about that. There were also sponsorships from Washington, D.C. So
Mm.
Team DC,
Mhm.
their boat actually hit a whale and it broke the rudder.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so that was really unfortunate. And we had a couple near misses with whales as well. And you just can't see them when they're sleeping on the surface, and
Yeah.
they look the same color as the
Water
ocean,
and
as the
yeah.
water, and we're always looking. We're always looking for obstacles in the water. We come across some really crazy things. But the couple near misses with whales were a little like, oh, made us
Yeah.
jump a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, some really cool experiences with dolphins, huge pods of dolphins coming by.
Mm.
At one point, I was on the bow of the boat doing some work and standing on the bowsprit, which is out beyond the railing of the boat, and two dolphins started to play with me. Or not with me, but with the bow wake of the boat, and they were 4 feet under my feet. It was the coolest feeling.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was really, really neat. We had a shiver of sharks
Mm.
like swim behind the boat, and they were like kind of hanging out in the
Uh,
shade of the boat. This was in a very hot part of our trek to Panama, where we were in a windless spot and we were the only shade around. And so on the shady side of the boat, we had a couple different types of fish. I think one was a triggerfish and one was another type of fish. We had a scuba diver on board and she knew her fish very well. And then we had 5 or 6 sharks, not big, swimming behind the boat in the shade as well.
uh,
I'd never seen a group of sharks, which is called a shiver of
a
sharks.
shiver.
I'd never seen them group like that before. It was
Huh.
really neat. So,
And you probably had a variety of weathers.
oh, the weather. Oh my gosh. And even all the way up until the end of the race, that was really fascinating. We came across the very beginning of the race. We exited the English Channel and we start traversing down the coastline of France. And there's a place called the Bay of Biscay.
Mhm.
And the Bay of Biscay can be really, really treacherous if there's a storm that's hit. And sure enough, we had a storm hit. And it was like day 3 or day 4 into the race. We were not very old, and all of us had just left England, right? So like we're all brand new. And this storm has 45 to 55 knot winds. The stuff that we would never go out on the Columbia River on. The bar would definitely be
Be
shut
shut
down. Like
down.
nobody would be going out. Here we are racing our sailboats through it and
Well, let's
figuring
just
it out.
start right
Yeah,
out.
bam. Like, talk about throwing you into the deep end. And yeah, so there's, that extreme. I was thinking about this the other day. A lot of times when we think about bad weather, we think big winds, cold, wet. But some of my least favorite times were when it was really hot and there
Yeah.
was no air moving
Mm.
and you're battling heat
Sunburn.
exhaustion,
Yeah, and sunburn
sunburn,
and
sunstroke, all of that, and then heat rashes because we always have to wear
oh,
life jackets.
yeah.
And so you're sitting there with this black life jacket on and some sort of really lightweight tank top or t-shirt and a bunch of sunscreen, and you're trying not to get overheated, and you just do, and you end up with heat rash and it's like it's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could come off deck in the middle of the North Pacific or the Southern Ocean where it was the coldest and wettest. And I could at least put dry clothes on and climb into a really warm sleeping bag and go to sleep. When it was the hot weather, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can only take off so much clothing and still be appropriate on a boat, a crew of 20. And you don't want to climb into a sleeping bag. The last thing you want is anything warm and sticky, and there was no air movement. We all had individual fans, but we were all vying for USB time to charge them. And so it was really, really uncomfortable. And I think some of my most uncomfortable moments were not the cold, wet ones, but more so the hot, sticky, no air movement ones.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Was there any times when you were frightened?
Yeah, quite a few. I think one of the best takeaways from the race is, I think, to feel frightened stems from uncertainty and not knowing how to do or how to react. You know, it's unfamiliarity with a situation is when frightened comes in. And the Bay of Biscay was definitely a frightening experience because we hadn't ever experienced it yet.
Yeah.
We haven't been on the boat in weather conditions like that. But
you didn't tell me this was
didn't.
going to happen.
Right. Nobody told me the boat was going to be 45 degrees for 4 days in a row, you know, and things like that. And that I had to helm in it and I had to learn on the fly, you know, and you had to be bad at it for the first couple of times and then you get good at it.
And people had to trust you being bad at it.
There is that. That's a big part of it too.
Yeah.
And that was just the first time that we faced winds. And I can't tell you how many more times that we faced winds of that strength or bigger. And it just became more familiar. So it was less scary.
Yeah.
We knew what to do. We knew how to do. We knew how to do in a quicker way over time, how to react. So in sailing, one thing you can do when the winds get really strong is you can reef your mainsail. And what that means is to make that big sail that's attached to the mast and the boom, the big triangle, you essentially bring that down and you make it smaller and it depowers the boat. We practice that in our training sessions, but we don't practice it in
the wind.
45 knot winds. So the first few times that we're doing it, it's really loud. It's maybe 2 a.m. and it's pitch black out. We don't know. We don't have all the lines memorized yet. We're fumbling around, right? So we're not great at it. We're not quick at it. It really sucks, honestly. It's really uncomfortable because it's taking us forever to do it. But by the end, even by halfway through the race, we're exponentially better at it. We're expert in it by now. And sure, there's still room for things to go wrong.
Right.
But when we do all the steps correctly, it is like smooth and it's quick. And we know how to do that well in advance of when we don't let it get so bad before we do the thing. And I think then those moments don't feel as scary anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think the realization that the feeling of feeling scared is due to lack of familiarity and a level of uncertainty. And the best way to conquer that is to do the thing.
Yeah.
And then take stock of what you did to handle
debrief afterwards
Always,
and say, okay, what can we do better next time?
We do, and we debrief a lot.
What did we do good and what did we need to improve on for next time?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And those debriefs are really important. And they can be a small debrief. It could be one-on-one. Maybe me and another individual were doing, these 2 tasks and something got messed up. Like it's important for us, the 2 of us, to talk. It's important for the rest of the group to know what happened and how to avoid it. And sometimes it comes from the skipper because they might be back near the helm watching everything. They're directing traffic, so to speak, and they're seeing where the misses are, right? And so they're the ones that can tell us, in a debrief scenario, what happened and how to get better.
That takes a lot of courage for a skipper to take on crews like that. At all those different levels.
Very, very true. That the skippers of the Clipper race are a very unique breed in themselves as well. I was lucky enough to get to sail with a skipper named Heather Thomas and a first mate named Millie Apperley, both of whom are from England. Heather was the skipper of Maiden, a very iconic all-female racing sailboat ages ago. She raced that same sailboat Maiden with an all-female crew in the 2023-2024 Open Globe Race.
Mm.
And that race was paying homage to one of the races 50 years ago. So they didn't allow the digital advances of today's sailing world. And so the race had to be sailed with celestial navigation.
Oh my.
No digital music. They had cassette tapes, paper charts, all of that. And she won. She beat them. Her
Crazy.
team beat everybody else.
Wow, that's crazy.
And she won Sailor of the Year. And is an incredibly phenomenal sailor to begin with, and an incredible leader and skipper. And
Trained by the best.
Yeah, I really felt fortunate to be able to sail under her guidance, and learned a lot. She's one of the ones that helped push. She and Millie both would push me out of my comfort zone a little bit and say, "Go do the thing." You know, what do you? Why don't you want to go do that? I think that was the important part. It was like they would go, well, "What's keeping you from doing the thing?" And I said, "Well, if I get up there and I mess it up, well, somebody will be up there that knows what what to do, and they'll be guiding you." Okay, so that they would conversationally tick the boxes of my concerns and be like, "Just go do the thing."
What a life skill.
Yes, big time.
Yeah,
big time, right?
mean, yeah.
Right. And
what
so,
a great question. Just as what keeps you from doing it. That's a great question.
Yeah, because then it's like, okay, well, those are the things to solve for. Let's solve for those.
Yeah.
To empower you to go do the thing that you're nervous about doing.
What would you tell someone who was even thinking about doing this?
To do it. Honestly, I think
do it. Just do it.
I think when we intentionally challenge ourselves to do something difficult, when we do it knowingly, and we all go through life having difficult days for unexpected reasons. But when we know that something's going to be difficult and it's going to take work, it's going to take planning, it's going to take endurance and perseverance and resiliency, the reward when you're done is bar none. It really is.
Yeah.
It's totally worth it. It's, we talk about like level 1, level 2 fun, type 2, type 1, type 2 fun, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
This is definitely like type 2, type 3 fun. There were times where it was like, it's really dangerous. And you go, why am I doing this? You question yourself a lot during the race. Like, why did I sign up for this? But when your friends and family and your teammates convince you to stay on the boat, that it is worth doing. The scary times won't always be scary, as we mentioned. The physically tough times won't always be there. The emotionally tough times are not every single day, every moment, right? They're just moments.
Yeah.
They'll pass too. And when they pass and you look at yourself on the other side, after that accomplishment, there's nothing that feels better.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about doing something big and bold and outside your comfort zone, really, really consider doing it, because the reward is phenomenal.
Wow. Heidi, thank you for just sharing all of this with us. It's so inspiring. But I will put links in the show notes for where people can look up this information and, take on the challenge.
Absolutely. Thanks for chatting with me.